friends. This is Jeff. We have another Mistyping session, and this time it's with Lauren in Houston. We are just meeting, so Lauren, thank you for joining us. Tell me some stuff about yourself. How do you normally introduce yourself?
I'm Lauren. I am 33. I am right smack dab in the middle of the millennial generation. And I am currently in Houston, Texas, but I'm from the Washington, D.C. area. I've bopped around the country a lot and taken my husband and my dog with me. And I work in healthcare. I'm a chaplain, educator in training. So in hospital chaplaincy, I help to teach seminary students and other faith leaders how to do chaplaincy. And outside of that, I really love anything outdoors. So hiking, climbing, I do a lot of indoor rock climbing. Yeah, I think that's a good enough. It feels like a good enough start to me.
I tried to be a climber myself, and I'm desperately afraid of heights, and I thought it was the case that I would be able to overcome my fear of heights through rock climbing. And though I was able to rock climb, I am still terrified of heights.
Yeah, rocks are not the most solid place to do that, so.
No, they exasperate that for sure. So how long have you been married?
We just celebrated our 7th wedding anniversary. We've been together for 13 years, though, since almost the end of college.
Nice. And sorry, you moved out for your job or for his job or both?
For my job to Houston, but we originally moved. We've been moving for me for the last 10 years from my career because it's really specialized.
Well, talk about that. You got into chaplaincy. What drew you into that field?
Yeah. So growing up, church was the place that I felt pretty at home. Not in youth group. Those were not the kids. Those were the popular kids at school that I did not get along with. But in the services with my mom, we would go, and I just felt really connected, and people were always offering me things to do, ways to get involved that really spoke to me. And so I thought the person I want to grow up to be is going to be my pastor. And then I got a degree in software engineering, and I did that for 2 years, and it was not fulfilling for me. And so I went back to seminary, but I didn't know if I would. I didn't still know if I would be a pastor. That didn't feel like the thing necessarily anymore. But then I discovered chaplaincy, and I had been going through chronic pain for about 5 years at the time, and had felt really lonely in my suffering with chronic pain. And in chaplaincy, there was space, the space that I had needed in my suffering, other people needed as well. And I just felt really connected to that. So that's what drew me into the work originally, knowing I wanted to be in ministry in some way, and then kind of finding a connection to the things that I was going through at the time.
That's a lovely story. Do you still have pain issues?
I do. It has ebbed and flowed through the years. It started when I was 19. And it's connected to a connective tissue disorder, so it will always be with me in some capacity, I think. But it depends largely on how much I'm sitting for my job, how much regular exercise I'm getting, if I'm taking care of myself, those kinds of things.
Yeah. Any reason to move to Texas aside from available for work?
Yeah, I met my current boss when I was a chaplain resident in Virginia. And before I left my first year of residency, I said to her, don't be surprised if I call you in 2 years from the job I'm going to next and want to come back to the hospital and do what you do. I remember one of the first meetings that she and I had when I became a chaplain resident, I said, how do I do what you do? And it's 5 years of training is the answer. But she was like, can you maybe just get through the next 3 months and then we'll see how it goes. So I really enjoyed working with her. She was really different than any female authority figure I'd ever worked with. And I felt like we worked really, really well together. So I did call her in 2 years, and I said I would still like to do this. So she said she was in Houston, and so I kind of just followed her there. Excellent.
Both with your pastor growing up, and is this Becca?
Yeah. Hi, Becca.
You've mentioned. I suppose I shouldn't. I don't know if that's outing people. You've mentioned that you found folks who were doing something that you really wanted to do in terms of vocational work, and kind of drawn to that. Is that common for you? I don't know how else to phrase that. Seeing folks doing things that you think, I should be doing that. I'm attracted to that.
Yeah, I think so. I've never thought of it in terms like that, but I do, like, I'll see something that I want to do, and or like something looks really cool when somebody else is doing it, or they make it seem really appealing, and then I'm like, I want that. And a lot of the time I end up like doing really hard things to follow through on that initial feeling of, yeah, I want that too. I could do that too.
Perfect. Tell me about your relationships in Houston. You've been in Houston for how long?
4 years.
Perfect. Moving into a new town, how do you find that you connect to people?
Yeah.
When you're moving into a new town?
So for early work, I have a really good friend who is a peer here, and that was like one of those kind of organic relationships. We were working together, and it's just our personalities really kind of aligned, and so we spend a lot of time together. But also, we seem to, Chris and I, my husband, we seem to be able to kind of make our way in wherever we go. And I attribute that to like the complement of the two of us. So the way it happened in Houston was we went to the brewery that was 10 minutes from our house when we first moved in, and it was busy, and we looked around, and I saw these two people who looked about our age sitting having a beer in athletic clothing, and I was like, those might be our people. And so I just said, let's go sit with them. And we sat down, and I said, is it always this busy here? And just like started a conversation with them. And you know, I feel like I'm great at the initial conversation part, and then my husband is like the person that everybody just loves once that initial part happens. So it's like I'll go dive in where he might not, but then he'll take over, and it complements well. So we found really, really great friends through that. Actually, we're in a friend group that have known each other all for like 15 or 20 years, and we're the only really people that have come in since then. And yeah, it's just been really, really lovely. They've been so welcoming, and yeah.
It's a compliment for sure. What does everybody love about Chris?
The peer that I work with, every time I say his name, he says, too good for this world. In a joking way. Chris, I think, is an Enneagram 9. If not, he's a 1. But he is like the kindest person that I've ever met. He will always give other people the benefit of the doubt, and put them above himself. And his kind of generous spirit, I think people know when they're with him that he really cares and he believes in them. It's kind of exuding from him, that energy.
That's an excellent assessment. Bang. Well, in the emails that you sent me, you had already looked into Enneagram and not only said you might be a couple of certain types, you also are apparently familiar with subtypes as well. How much Enneagram work have you done?
I think a lot. I got introduced to it in 2018 when I was working as a chaplain resident, and the first book I read was The Road Back to You, and I didn't immediately feel like I knew, but then in talking with peers, I was like, oh yeah, I think I know what my number is now. And then since then, when I went to work at a church for a couple of years between being in the hospital, I was like telling everybody, you need to know things about the Enneagram. We all need to know our Enneagram types. Don't take a test. You should self-assess. Let's all do it. You know, it's like the Enneagram evangelist.
All that's correct, by the way.
All that's correct, yeah. Since coming back to the hospital, I've done a lot more reading. I really love Richard Rohr's book on the Enneagram, and then I've done like a lot since Becca and another educator here are in the narrative Enneagram tradition. They've both gone through certification. There's just so much talk in our work about the Enneagram, not just our own numbers, and how our tendencies and things are showing up, but also about our students and how to make sense of some of their behaviors and motivations as we work with them.
Yeah. How many? Side note: how many students do you work with then?
We work with groups of like about 5 or 6 at a time.
Okay. perfect. That's comfortable.
Yeah, it's a good group space, I think.
It's like all that's helpful. So my mom was in the hospital for around 10 years. She had liver issues, and I was doing church work at the time and connected with the folks doing chaplain work there. That always struck me as a very hard job. That wasn't one that was necessarily appealing to me. I don't know why I'm saying it up like that, but it seems like it takes a very specific kind of person. Do you enjoy that kind of work? And like what's most attractive to you?
Yeah, I do. I really, really enjoy it. There are days where I'm like, what am I doing here? Nobody's talking to me about anything. People just, if there's a lot of small talk, then those kinds of days feel a little bit less like they draw me. But what's appealing to me about it, I think in large part, like, it's such a skill to companion people when they're suffering. And that feels so fulfilling to me, to reach out to another person in empathy and try to hear their story, get the privilege of hearing their story and try to understand. And what I want to be is steady. Like, I would like to be a safe person for people to feel like they can say the really scary things too, and they're not going to scare me off. And I think that's rooted in my own suffering.
That's lovely. Talk about being steady and safe. Like why is that an ambition?
Yeah, steady for me, I think the place where I feel the most calm actually is in like real intensity and real crisis. That's like the space where I feel like I have a unique set of skills, not to quote taken on accident, but I have a unique set of skills, but there's something about it that feels like I know what to do, or I can be here in this moment. And so, I think like I feel like I can hear, I have the capacity to hear a lot and to sit with a lot. And that feels like a really important part of who I am, and something that even if I wasn't in chaplaincy, that's something that I would want to strive for. And I think that feels like something my friends know about me as well, that they can bring me really difficult things and they know I'm up for it anytime. And that's, I think, what I mean as well by feeling like a safe person. To me, saying, I'm going to be here. You don't need to be happy for me. You don't need to be anything other than what you are. And you're not going to scare me off with the things that you're afraid to say to the people that you love or to yourself. I can tolerate it, and we're going to be here in it together. That feels like safety to me.
That's lovely. So you do not have a problem sitting with people in their hard moments? I'm saying that more about you, not about them. Like when you are in those situations, you're able to enter them and not have that feel like it's like pulling a ton from you?
Pulling a ton? No, I don't think it feels like it pulls a ton. And like when you were originally asking, I was thinking, yeah, I'm able to sit in the stuff that doesn't like touch my stuff, I think it's really different when it hits something that feels close to home or vulnerable for me. Then there's kind of a ripcord. But when I can kind of separate myself, then yeah, I feel like I can hear a lot without really feeling burdened by it, or like there's a lot of energy that needs to happen, that needs to go out from me for that to happen. Sorry.
Say that the last part just one more time. Sorry.
When it's not directly connected to my stuff, I feel like I can hear a lot without feeling like there's a lot of energy that needs to go out from me for that to happen.
Yeah, that's good. Do you feel a need to fix other people's grief, to elevate them from those spaces?
I don't, not in like a positive, like you should be positive kind of way. I think for me, it's like if my friend is telling me that they're getting a divorce and their husband was really terrible to them, I'm going to be like, yeah, we hate that guy. Like that's the way I'm going to do it. I'm I want to, like, I don't need people to be happy, but I do want to, I find that occasionally I do want to move past this feels sad to how can we act on this?
Bang. Are you aware that you want the attention and thanks of the people that you serve? Like, is that a priority for you at all?
When I go long periods of time without feeling acknowledged, that feels really difficult.
Yeah.
I do like, you know, it feels really good when somebody says, "You've really made an impact on me," or, you know, that was so helpful. Or even just, you know, in a conversation with coworkers, like affirmation, I think is something that I like to lead. I like for people to lead with me, and feels important. I'm really up for critique and for feedback, and also I really do like to be encouraged. But I don't trust just any encouragement. Like, it needs to feel really genuine to me.
Bing. Talk about being up for critique and feedback for me.
Yeah. So I think for me, coming to chaplaincy, one of the first lessons that I learned the hard way was when someone confronts you or when you're receiving feedback, it's not that you are a bad person or they're a bad person, that like it's somebody has to give and be wrong, but that your stories can intersect in a way that can be helpful for you to understand what it's like to be in somebody else's shoes and receive you, just like it can be helpful for them. That was like revelatory to me in my late 20s when I started chaplaincy.
It's lovely. Outside of work, what's most important to you? Is it your activities? Is it your house? You have a dog?
I have a dog, yeah. She's the kind of like joy and lightness that I look forward to at the end of every single day. And all my love aggression goes toward that dog. And yeah, outside of work, I love to be active. Like, I love getting out and doing stuff in addition to doing indoor rock climbing regularly, like 3 times a week. I'm also play on a trivia team with those friends we met at the brewery. You know, I'll try to do impromptu stuff after work, things like that. Like, I want to spend my time doing stuff that I enjoy. Getting to like housework and stuff is like it's not the thing. It's not the energy thing for me. Being out and active, and then also like having time where I'm doing stuff with my husband at home, watching TV, playing video games, those kinds of things.
Perfect. I missed the word you used, but it was interesting to me at the time. You said all your aggression goes towards that dog. Did you specify a type of aggression
Yeah.
at that point in time? And would you talk about that?
Yes, love aggression. It's such a real thing.
Love aggression. Tell me about love aggression.
Yeah. You know that feeling that you have that there's just too much, there's too much love in you and you have to like squeeze something to get it out. That's love aggression.
Perfect. I have yet to hear that, and I need more of that in my life.
Yeah.
However, I do know what you're talking about. That's good. On the trivia team, what subjects are you the best at?
I am the best at like 0 things. I'm there to socialize, and I'm really there to socialize. Although I will say, like, our team, pop music would be the thing if there was anything, because not enough theological trivia comes up. Otherwise,
yeah,
that would be the area. I just want them to ask me about the Augustinian and Irenaean theological views on the eschaton. That's all I want.
Well, let's talk about theology. So you may see the bookcase behind me. Was that at least on the right? Is it right of me? Left of me? It's on one of the sides. Love the hell out of theology. Do you nerd out on theology then?
You know what? No, that's pretty surface. Honestly, like there are some words I'm never going to forget from seminary, like supralapsarianism and infralapsarianism, and those are nice to like pull out when somebody's like wants a big theological word. But generally, I feel like my like I did all the readings in seminary. It took way longer. Like nobody should do all the readings in seminary because there's too much to read. But I did all the readings, and like I feel like what the reason those were important to me is because I learned a lot about like the kind of person that I want to be in the world and the kind of way that I feel like I relate to God, and it was more that it was formative, it was transformative to me that made it important, and like that people were asking me to think critically about who God is, and like assertions that I was making about God, like bringing them through the thread of logic. That was what was more important to me than what Bart has to say in really complex terms.
At that level, do you enjoy systems? I don't want to call it systematic theology because that kind of brings in some other stuff, but like just being able to categorize beliefs.
That isn't necessarily the first thing that comes to mind, like systems. I was a software engineer in a former life, and I really do like to find my way logically through things. And when something doesn't make sense to me, like if it doesn't feel like there's logic being used, then I feel angry. But I wouldn't say that systems are something that I have noticed that I'm like really drawn to, or
Sure.
yeah.
Bing. You feel angry when others aren't thoughtful?
Yeah, well, I think I feel angry a lot, but I feel angry when it feels like it would have been so simple to, like, for instance, students would have been so simple to open the page of your syllabus and look at the reading assignment for this week. But now that we're here and you didn't do it, everybody suffers. Like, what I think is everybody suffers for the lack of forethought.
Okay. A lot of this just has given me a sense of who you are, and we're kind of coming at things in different angles, and I suppose this is the way I like doing typing best. But now I'm going to kind of pivot to things that these will be buzzwords, and since you've done some Enneagram work, you may foresee, some of the places that I'm going. So, but I would love to just elevate some of the stuff that I'm seeing. Do you find yourself an anxious person at all?
Yeah, I'm an anxious person. Yeah.
How would you describe that? What comes to mind?
For instance, right now I'm finishing my training program and I'm having to figure out what the next steps are. And in addition to like trying to, some of the things I feel anxious about in that are, I really want to be very present for the people that I'm with, for the students that I'm with, and part of my attention is not with them, and that makes me kind of anxious. My lease is going to end in like 6 weeks, and I don't know whether to extend it or to pack up my house. And like being in the waiting period is pretty anxiety producing to me. I don't feel like, oh yeah, but it's going to happen. People pack up their house all the time. I feel like we should be thinking about this now. We got to be making lists, all right? We got to be preparing mentally and physically for all that it takes. Part of that is like I'm with chronic back pain. Like I have to limit some of the things I can do on a day-to-day basis, and I just know what I'm like prepping for is using more of my energy and like my bandwidth of my back on moving things. Mm-hmm. But I feel like anticipatory anxiety about like what's going to happen next and what the future is going to be like.
Yeah. Do you find that anxiety spills out like for others? Like, are you always looking out for others' safety?
I wouldn't say like physical safety. Emotional safety. I feel like, that's like a big part of my job. I feel like a real stickler mm-hmm. when people start to tell me that they're like doing things that are red flags in their patient care. Mm-hmm. I think part of the reason that I teach chaplaincy now is because I feel really passionately that people deserve a safe person to hear their stuff. And so like making other people safe people is the thing now. Yeah.
It's a good line. You're making other people safe people. Did I say that right?
Yeah, you did.
Making people safe people. Do you find that you can play the devil's advocate real easy in terms of just outlining things that might go wrong?
Yeah, I can definitely be the person that says, but you don't know. Really how that comes out is like I'm weighing options. Like there's always a bunch of options, and I'm thinking about them. Like I have an exhaustive and definitive pro-con list of the places that I'm interviewing.
Talk about that.
Like what the pros and cons are, or what do you mean?
Your process gets exhaustive when outlining what you might do, like when you might go to a restaurant, or when you might move across the country, or both.
Okay, so like if it's Thursday and I know that sometimes two of my friends go to the brewery we met at on Thursdays. I am like, I'm thinking I'm going to try to get my stuff done, like my workout done and all this stuff, just in case they reach out and they want to go do this thing. And then if they do it, then I'm like, I don't know if I really want to go, but I'm trying to plan for that just in case the opportunity comes up. But I don't feel actively like if I don't get that done, then I'm letting somebody down, or that I'm really going to have FOMO. Like it feels much lower stakes. But moving across the country, it'll start as like ideas, like, yeah, this could be good. It could also not be good. What are the things that could be good about it? What are the things that could not be good about it? Okay. How does that compare to this other thing? And I would say like because of that, I also end up being more critical, or I'm not as idealistic, I think.
You're not as idealistic about
nothing is going to be perfect. But like the pro-con list is kind of also a way for me to set my expectation. Like even if I get the best possible option, here are the things that I know that are not probably going to go great.
Do you find that you get frustrated by things in that way? When things don't go great, is frustration an emotion that you experience very frequently?
Yeah.
I felt like a robust yes, as opposed to the slight yes.
Yeah. No, I don't have any I don't have any illusion of myself as someone who has to tamp down their frustration or their anger. Like that is, I call it the anger filter. It feels like everything kind of goes through frustration or anger for me first. Before I can feel other feelings about it.
So you can make a distinction in your mind between the feeling of anger and the feeling of frustration? Or is it kind of the same?
Frustration, I feel like I'm trying to work something out or do something. Anger is just like... it just feels matter of fact to me.
Yeah. Is it the case, like, are you aware for the most part when you're being bossed around by other people at the hospital?
Yeah.
Is that something that produces anger at some level?
Only if I feel like it's unjust. You know, like there are high stakes things that happen in our work, and sometimes people get bossy about it, and that can roll off my back. But if someone is impeding on my ability to see a patient or to shadow a student or hold a class somewhere, then I'm gonna feel pretty frustrated.
Bang. I hope you're enjoying this. There's all sorts of fun stuff, I think, that's here. I wanted to ask you some questions that went down a different road. I've had kind of 5 and 6 kind of questions in my head there for a while, and then we've been circling a lot of 1 questions here. But you had sent a list saying that you were interested in 7s and 3s, and just to kind of go down those roads for a hot minute, do you find that you do a lot of future planning for yourself? Do you find that you're consistently in the future in your head?
No, I definitely do a lot of future planning for myself. But it's more like when I have time in the evening, I'm thinking about like, where do I want to, would it be fun to go on a trip? Let's plan a trip. Mm-hmm. Or here are the 10 things I have to do to make sure that if I do get a job, that I am ready to move. Those kinds of things are the things that they're like, oh crap, like the future's happening. So I should I should plan for it. But in the moment to moment, I'm not thinking I'm not usually thinking about the future.
Perfect. That's exactly the sort of answer that I was kind of looking for. Like, today's Monday. Do you know pretty much what's going on next Wednesday for you?
Where do I go in my head to answer that question? Ish. I mean, like, I don't know. We'll do what we do every Wednesday, Pinky.
Yeah, right. Try to take over the world. You were the second person in the last week that's mentioned Pinky on the Brain on the podcast, so you get an award for this.
Nice. I didn't even listen to that one.
No, it hasn't gone out yet. Although severely underrated, Animaniacs. That whole cartoon is brilliant. What's your favorite kind of vacation?
My favorite kind of vacation, the sigh was, is this because this is what my husband and I like to do, or is this my favorite kind of vacation, was the sigh.
So it's a good distinction.
I think they're the same. I really love a vacation where I can be super active for the first part of the day and then super inactive for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
So I really when I picture like an ideal vacation, somewhere I have not found yet that is so easily accessible, that is also on a lake at the bottom of a mountain I can just go up. Because I love water sports. I love like kayaking and things like that, and also hiking, and just like being in a beautiful place feels like a part of vacation to me, like where I can just look out and just let something go because it's beautiful around me.
Yeah.
And also, like I want to get out and do, I would say like inactive the second part of the day is either like with family or friends around, or like going out to dinner or a brewery or something. Like that feels inactive to me.
Yeah. Occasionally the world
Balance.
is, what's that?
Balance.
You may have heard that the world is on fire. Is it the case that when the world is on fire, what goes through your mind? Like in terms of solving all the things, like, are you most concerned at this point in time in making sure that you have really great relationships? Are you concerned with other people getting their act together and doing the right thing? Like, what kind of goes through your mind?
Yeah, I think first I go to, this sucks, everybody sucks, it's everybody else that's the problem.
And that would be the right answer, by the way.
Yeah, I know. If they would all just change.
Yes.
And I can get really like, these are my people, those are not my people. So let's all our people get on the same page and be active and trying to make the world right, because they're trying to screw it up. But I can also, I feel kind of 2 minds with it, because there are a lot of people I see in the hospital who, like, seeing people in the hospital who have the kind of things, views, or feelings that I villainize really humanizes it for me. You just can't lump everybody together when somebody's suffering right in front of your face and they think a thing that you don't like, but they are also a person who's trying their best and they're hurting. I would say, like, I have a plan. I have a, like, when is the right time to move to Canada kind of plan. That's kind of like something that's always rolling between my husband and I. It's like part joke, part not joke.
Sure.
But also, there have been times in my life where it's really pushed me to be active, and times in my life where it's really pushed me to be inactive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, feels like a lot.
To back up, that's just applause, stellar answer about the humanization that sickness brings in terms of we're all in this together.
Yeah.
Well, I would love to jump into our book. I don't know if you know how we do this. We published a book a little while ago. It's got a mistyping chart in the back. Are you familiar with this at all?
My boss is familiar with it because she has been watching these podcasts and asked for the chart.
And you should. Okay, perfect.
So she's told me that there's a chart. That's how familiar I am.
To be honest, so you sent me 1, 3, and 7 as possibilities. I really was hearing nothing that would draw me to 3 or 7. I heard a lot of 1 language, and there was a handful of times that 6 kind of popped up for me. Now that can be very common in terms of exploration, but the amount of stuff, I'll just give you my reflections, and we'll get into this real quick. The amount of stuff that you said that ended up being very physical in nature, especially in your experiences of, despite having a chronic pain, disease, condition, I don't want to mess that up.
Condition, yeah, it's fine.
You were still incredibly active. And that seems to me to showcase quite a bit about your quality and your motive. Your enjoyment of physical surroundings came out a lot. I love the fact that you specified that housework is not necessarily your thing, because not all ones actually go down that road. But I was glad that you did specify that, because I think that's helpful. Just being drawn into theology and chaplaincy takes a very specific kind of person, and in my mind, that person is more in that 1, 4, 5, 9 kind of area. Although I could see 6s maybe there, but those are the sorts of things that kind of were hitting me. 1s and 9s pair very well together in romantic relationships, but so do 6s and 9s. And a lot of the things that you were saying about your relationship with Chris kind of went down those 2 roads. So that's, I suppose, why I'm kind of elevating 6. The way that you do planning, again, very similar to how 1s and 6s would do this, but especially as you say, it felt like you're like, I'm in the moment doing my thing. And that would point more toward 1, 2, 6 kind of being more of a responsive, reactive sort of person. And then you said quite a bit at times about, in essence, not only yourself following rules, but having a desire for other people to follow rules, as it were. That's a shorthand, but it's worthwhile. The only that you did talk about anxiety. So I'm a 1. I don't often feel anxious or anxiety, but I may be an outlier on this front. But anxiety would be a big, buzzword for 6s. But you also spoke quite a bit about anger and frustration, and those would be buzzwords for 1s. So yeah. So that's kind of where I'm starting.
It's interesting. It sounds like, sorry, the delay. It's interesting. It sounds like 8 hasn't hit you at all.
Nope. I could ask you a couple of 8 questions though, if you want.
This is revelatory. Okay, yeah.
One of the reasons that 8 doesn't strike me is almost entirely because of your disposition. I become probably too intuitive about things that didn't hit me. 8s, 9s, and 1s all experience the same kind of anger, but the direction of the anger matters. And for 8s, it is very defensive and pushing people away, testing boundaries. 8s, 9s, and 1s can all get angry at injustice. And that's normally, when you were talking about anger, that's where it goes. I suppose I didn't ask you about self-criticism. I think I just assumed that was there. Do you find that you're very self-critical?
It feels like yes and no. I really want to do things. I want to be excellent, I think, is the way I would just most candidly say it. And I have high expectations that I should be able to get there.
Yeah.
And I don't spend a lot of time thinking, like ruminating on it, that, or thinking like I should, like I'm not doing this right or well enough, or yeah.
Yeah. And that, I think that goes down the sort of paths that I would want to go.
Okay.
The desire for excellence is a very particular desire for some. Like as one that I am, I'm shocked that people don't want to make the world better. It's befuddling to me half the time. And there's something about not only wanting to make the world better, but having a radar for excellence that's valuable. Do you expect people to reject you in relationship?
I expect people to not like me the first time they meet me.
Mm-hmm. Because why?
Because I am too, like the word I would put on it is aggressive, but I think, I kind of feel like I have a lot of eight language from having talked about it, about myself in that way for so long.
What are the places where you feel like other people perceive you as too aggressive?
Generally, like from the first time that I meet people, what I experience in the world is that a lot of people will hold their opinions or their thoughts or like tough topics or things like that in conversation until they know someone well enough and have built a relationship, and that's just not me. I'm somebody who's probably going to bring a fair amount of intensity in whatever interaction we have, and I feel kind of like I would rather do that and you decide that you don't like me than try to be something that I'm not.
Yeah, that's well said. Do you find that you overshare?
At times. I definitely have foot and mouth syndrome.
Right.
Yeah.
The anger itself that I was trying to get at is coming out in a different kind of way, but the way that you're talking about your own attributes strikes me as much more of the self-criticism that I was trying to illuminate there. And that is just a way of being in the world, just being here are the qualities that I have, but let me talk through them with a critical eye, as it were. Can be a thing. Do people think that you're too much? You had said that you come across aggressively.
I think that the other thing that I feel like I get called a lot that has made me think 8 is intimidating.
Do you feel like you're intimidating?
I would like to be.
Perfect.
Yeah, I'd say intimidating feels nice. Like that feels strong and a little bit untouchable. But I also think it comes with loneliness. Like,
yeah.
So I think there's a cost. And I think like the last probably 10 years, I feel like I've been weighing that cost differently as I've gone more into adulthood. Like I would overshare and say kind of things that I knew were intimidating things and kind of live into the persona a little bit in my early 20s, because there's just a lot of like my childhood story is a lot of like being too much or being rejected, ending up feeling alone. And so in my 20s, I think I started to kind of shift the balance. Like, I don't really want to be this alone. I don't want to feel this distanced from people initially. And so, part of that's about me. How do I work on that part?
That's well said. We can absolutely go down the 8 road to showcase it.
If it doesn't feel like it's hitting, then I'm okay not going down that road.
No, I think you're such a slam dunk one. I don't want to say it. So you had put that you thought that you were a sexual one. In sexual ones, like myself, our anger can go outward and be very assertive toward the world around us and wanting the world around us to change, as opposed to some ones can really get much more self-critical. But I think it's an important place to go. So if none of the 6th language that I was hit you, and especially if that's kind of on your mind coming in, I would love to showcase the difference there. But
I think I'm up for either 1 and 6 or 1 and 8, because I've occasionally thought, so fear wasn't something that I felt like I was kind of allowed to feel growing up. I was supposed to be brave and put on a brave face and kind of walk into the fire, and that's where my skill set is now in my job. And I've realized in the last couple of years, like I feel fear a lot more than I thought that I did.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how you take that or if that helps, but I would be...
It does, actually.
Okay.
The reason being, in stress, eights can commonly feel more fear when they're really in stress. So that might be a place to talk.
So more I meant it like I have had to do a lot of self-discovery to uncover that under my anger, there's sometimes actually fear that just feels vulnerable.
Yeah.
That I don't really want to look at.
Are you aware that you're vulnerable?
I'm hyper aware when someone reflects back to me discomfort with vulnerability. Like the thing I want least in the world is to feel from somebody like they think they need to protect me.
Really? Well, there you go. Let's do that. I didn't see 8 at all.
Okay.
I would love to talk about 1s and 8s.
Oh my gosh, that's great. Okay.
So
here I am. I'm going to make my case.
And I'm glad that that's on your radar. It's a much more interesting pairing than anything that was coming to me. So the way that our book works, we have 30 different attributes between the two. And this is just meant to be a helpful. This isn't always the case. And in fact, as we go down these, it may be the case that you see a lot of yourself in both things that I end up saying. But it can be a helpful kind of guide, and it can be a prompt for conversation is really what we were trying to design. But so I'll start with 1s and then jump to 8s. 1s, just primary in terms of their motive, 1s often want to be good. 8s often want to be strong. Do either of those hit you as more important?
No, not off the bat.
1s often desire a moral clarity and understand what's right to do. 8s often desire personal control.
Like control over...
What is one? I suppose both 8s and 1s are both going to want agency and oversight over themselves. 8s desire for personal control is going to come out of a sense that they are vulnerable. We were kind of using that term. 1s desire for moral clarity is almost like I'll feel good in the world if I know what's the right thing to do. 8s desire for personal control is nobody will affect me if I have agency.
I would really like to know what the right thing to do is, and I'm okay with people impacting me as long as they're not like trying to impede on my space. I think.
1s often critique themselves to stay aligned. 8s often assert themselves to stay protected.
Both resonate with me.
Perfect. That's good. I'm actually thrilled of where this went. 1s often resent ineffectiveness. 8s often resent ineptitude.
How does that show up? Like, can you give me an example
of ineptitude or of ineffectiveness?
Yeah, or the difference between. I think the difference between lack of effectiveness and lack of aptitude.
I think that's a good question. I think it's the ineptitude that's the buzzword here, that there's a judgment on somebody else's weakness. Do you judge other people's weaknesses?
Yeah, yes. Just don't do dumb stuff, you know? Like, just don't be dumb. Just think. I do definitely assign, like, intent or, like, a lack of... What I think is you're not thinking enough about me to think this through when something doesn't... That seems to me like it should be easy, doesn't go to plan. So that may be a little bit more of an in the middle answer than 8 or 1.
No, that works. 1s often avoid indulgences. 8s often avoid being dependent.
I don't mind being dependent if it's like, so for me, if I'm going to be dependent, then I need somebody that is really going to protect me or like that I can really trust in that role. Otherwise, I would much rather do for myself than be dependent on anybody if they're not the right person.
Do you find that you have just a small circle of trust, as it were?
Yeah, I have a lot of people that I feel close to, that I love to socialize with, but when I feel vulnerable, like that only happens with maybe 4 people.
Yeah, perfect. Do you try to tap down your intensity, or do you utilize your intensity?
I think at things like at work, tamp down.
Mm-hmm.
For me, like when I think about utilizing intensity, I think like, I don't know, I think fun actually, like intensity or like a lot of energy or that kind of thing. I would much rather have an intense conversation and like not turn that off when I leave work than like try to separate what spaces it's okay to be intense in, that kind of thing.
Yeah. That strikes me as just to say it, that strikes me as the sexual one side, the desire for intense conversation, maybe more of the bonding. This is how you connect with others, and engaging your mind is pushing you into secure spaces. So like if you get fired up on that space, that may be a sweet spot of a different kind of intensity. But it's a good way to put that. Do you use confrontation to get what you want? Like, do you feel like that's a go-to for you?
I use confrontation to know where I stand with someone.
Okay. Yeah. Talk about that.
If I think somebody is dissatisfied with me or annoyed with me or feels like I'm too much or I'm a bitch or whatever, or if I just can't really read somebody and what they're thinking or feeling, usually about me is the caveat to that, I'll try to get on their nerves or pick a fight. Sometimes it's unconscious, but like I would much rather go at confrontation to figure that out than try to operate with things unsaid.
Yeah. Do you find that you verbally process, or are you pretty clear about what you think about things?
I verbally process.
Yeah.
100%.
100%. Let's go down that way. Do you like so one place to do typing is just in terms of what we repress. So 8s will repress their feelings, kind of convert all feelings into anger.
Yeah.
Whereas 1s will be thinking repressed and just have a hard time doing productive thinking. And so they can find themselves thinking and rethinking about the same thing without really grabbing hold. Does either of those connect with you more?
Both actually connect with me. Yeah.
I convert all my feelings into anger also. As I'm saying this, see, it's the same, like this may not be as exposing as I'm hoping it to be.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely think, I definitely am more comfortable feeling anger and talking about things through the lens of anger, and things will come out a little bit more intense or a little bit more decided or firm than they actually are in my head. And it's been interesting for me to hear reflected back to me in recent years, like you sound like you know to be true the thing that you're saying, which is an opinion. And that, you know, I've had to say like, no, I am processing this. It comes out that way because I haven't fully figured it out yet.
The 1-8 is all over how we're talking about these things, and it just strikes me that that's exactly the way that a 1 would characterize the nuance. And so, just as we're saying it, I don't know what else to say there aside from the nuance there, and it ends up being somewhat about the rightness of the belief. I don't like 8s commonly don't care if you share their opinion. You're an idiot if you don't, and they're fine moving on. You know what I mean? Or do you feel that way? Do you feel like, oh, you're an idiot, I'm not going to waste my energy on you, on convincing you of something?
If I'm like fired up, then that's how I feel. But if I'm trying to, you know, like there's so many spaces in my work where I'm trying to learn about myself, and when I'm trying to be open to that, I really try not to go, well, then just F you if you don't feel the same way. You know, I want to say, what might this person be seeing that I can't see? And so it actually was tough to kind of step back and go, I do speak like what I'm saying are facts and their opinions, and sometimes that comes out with more intensity than I actually feel it on the inside. I wonder what that's communicating that I don't want it to communicate.
Right. I think it's well said. Last one. when you're really secure, do you become more adventurous and want to go do new and different things? Does your mind awake to the new possibilities? Or when you become secure, do you become much more magnanimous, big-hearted? I want to serve more folks. I want to exert my strength on their behalf.
Yes.
It's a both.
Okay, all right. So I think I feel like the word secure is like kind of a buzzword in the Enneagram, that like secure. So tell me what you mean by secure, and then I'll tell you what I think my answer is.
When you feel like your motive is fulfilled, when you're just in, like, everything is going well.
When I'm free.
The 8, to just put the specific language, the 8 will no longer feel vulnerable because they feel like they're not vulnerable, and so their motive is fulfilled. I am strong enough in this space, no vulnerabilities, and therefore I can just lavish on those in front of me without the fear that they're going to betray me, hurt me, do anything to upset my agency. Ones, when they feel like they have their motive fulfilled, they feel like they've done the right things. Like all the things have been checkmarked, done, got the house clean, got the dog walked, and like now the slate is empty and I don't know what to do. What should I do? My mind starts going to the future, and I could do this, and I could build this, and I could improve this, and this could also happen. Those would be 2 ways of understanding the security moves.
I think I would lean more 1 on that. I think it's like when I feel like things are kind of together, like I have some space to breathe, then I think like that's the time where I'm like, I really like to go to Austria this year. And I don't really think about that when I'm stressed out, because it just feels like I don't have the right headspace for it. But I do really like to dream when I feel like I have capacity for that.
All of these things strike me as going down that one road. I think you're exactly right to earmark, and I'm super glad that you held it off till the end, that 8 may be a potential mistype. I do think it comes out of the way that those with a dominant sexual instinct can come to the world as more intense, especially to others. So I experience that as well, because that's where I land. And I don't feel vulnerable is a big thing for me, but I also don't have a chronic illness. If I got punched in the mouth a few more times, then that may be an emotion that I felt more commonly. Just a lot of your answers would lead me, if that's where your motive lies, and the way that you process the world strikes me as 1 in form. And so I suppose in terms of the Enneagram being helpful, I think you have every reason to jump in to that number, swim around on it, and see if it does anything for you. See if start using the Enneagram as though it's a tool that's trying to expose something, and see if it does anything for you. And if it doesn't, then that's entirely fine. You can move on to the next thing. But those are some of the places that my mind would go. So do you have thoughts or questions on oneness or next steps?
So I listened to this podcast episode that went through in like a 3-minute blurb every subtype in every number. And when it went through, the thing is, I've always felt like the things that make me an 8 are that I'm intimidating, that people expect me to be strong, and that often I can just kind of assume that I'm going to have to win people over. Like, they're not going to like me the first time that they meet me. And I don't shy away from most fights. I will say that with a caveat, because if it's the person in charge, then I do most of the time. But when I went through that podcast, and when I've tried to look at 8 subtypes, I've never felt like there's a home for me in the instincts.
Yeah.
The best I've been able to say is like, maybe I straddle the line between 8 and 7, because I really love intensity, but I really love like fun, but I'm intimidating and I'm strong. And, it's kind of like trying to put 2 things together. When I listened to the subtypes for one, and I heard this line in the sexual one, sexual ones are trying to perfect other people. I was like, oh, crap.
Yeah.
So it was a different way of feeling seen.
Well, if you feel the buzz, then that's a thing.
Yeah, it was a different way of feeling seen than I had before.
There is a positive spin on that. That's not entirely negative, no?
It's not entirely negative, no. But I was just, like, it made me think, and I am now thinking this is a really one response. It made me think, I should be trying to perfect myself more than other people. Gosh.
Right.
It was like, how could I do that morally better?
A lot of us that got into church work were drawn to it because of the language and tools in that sphere that could do exactly this. Because of course we want people's lives to be better, and obviously, like, the rich vocation that you've chosen, and I would assume that you do very, very well, brings a lot of value to people in those spaces and longing to see their lives improved in a space that's incredibly difficult to see things improved. So am I wrong in saying that?
No. And, I really get a lot of fulfillment out of doing that one-to-one when I feel like when someone has been able to say something that they've been too afraid to say. Like, that's the biggest thing for me. When somebody feels like they can say something for the first time with me, then I feel really fulfilled. And teaching people what it takes to listen well enough to do that work so that people can say the things that are scary to them, like, that's even more fulfilling to me.
That's solid. That is not crossing a finish line, hands in the air, but that is, the ball has been moved just slightly, and that means there's some momentum here and we're going in the right direction, is what I hear there. I don't know if you do sports ball metaphors, but you're a climber. I got past this one difficult spot, and now I'm waiting for the next move, as it were. The other thing that I heard there when you said...
It's okay. My husband watches the NBA, so I understand some sports ball metaphors. I have to.
You're a pop music connoisseur.
I'm at least the least bad at it on our trivia team.
On the trivia.
Yeah.
The idea that you assume that you have to win people over is something I can't imagine many eights saying. And I could be wrong there, but that's not something I would imagine that most of the eights in my life would ever say. Like, you can take it or leave it, that sort of person, for sure. It's also the case that you're right to earmark that people see you as strong. One of the things that ones exude, but they don't realize it, is just a high degree of competence and stability. And a lot of times we're not aware that that's how we come across. And so people actually think that we're stronger, we're more provided for than we actually are, that we don't need in the same way that a lot of other types need. And we do. It just doesn't come out in our countenance. Okay,
so that really resonates with me in terms of my pain, my chronic pain. Talking about it is like something that I don't like really do with anyone, mostly. And I would not talk about it and not talk about it and not talk about it and then cry that no one was helping me. And I think it's been pointed out to me a couple times, like, you can't say you don't need anything and then expect people to know that that's a lie and you do need things,
Yeah.
Kind of like, this is a cycle that's fulfilling itself when you say I don't need resources and then you feel like alone.
Yeah. Very well put. Worth naming. Once you name something, you can kind of give it some attention and do some work there. I suppose that would be... I resonate a lot with what you were saying there. I don't generate a lot of empathy naturally from others. And so they go harder at me than I could handle, but I wasn't able to articulate something of that sort. So I don't know if that makes any sense, but...
It makes a lot of sense. Yeah. For me, there's like, I am critical, like I know that's one of the ways I would describe myself as critical. And my sense is that when people see that, they assume that's what we need, that's what we do. So they do the same. And it doesn't always feel great on the other side of it. Isn't that funny?
Mm-hmm. On the other side, how's that?
Kind of speaking in critical language, there's not always a gentleness to it. And sometimes that's what I need, and I'm not communicating that by the way that I'm communicating.
Yeah, gotcha. Bang. Some of the places that, like, at least for me, that have been helpful recently is, like, once you find type, these sorts of reflections I think are really valuable, especially since you have one of the treasures out there, is you already have somebody close to you who really gets into this material. And so getting a chance to just put on the hat that says, I'm an Enneagram 1, and speaking from that position, you may feel like things go a lot faster for you than being in that space where you're still kind of waiting and finding your type. Like once you name this is where I'm at, then looking for the language, looking for how other ones may come to the material can be really helpful. So the hypersensitivity that I experience, the anger itself that can go overboard, that my thinking repression can be very much about my judging myself, like because I'm not thinking clearly. A lot of times just the energy can come across in waves of self-criticism when I'm not very healthy. All these things are worth naming, knowing that this is just my type. And anyway, that would be some places where the tool, in my experience, can be incredibly helpful. So,
yeah. Is there a resource that you've been really that's been helping you with that lately?
Well, lo and behold, there's this fantastic book that just got released.
Oh my gosh, I'm so looking forward to that.
Aside from our book, one of the better books that I've seen is probably $5-6 on the interweb, and it's called Enneagram Transformations. Okay. Don Riso is arguably, in my view, like one of the top 3, if not the number 1 thinker on Enneagram in the last 50 years. A very short book, but this one's just kind of filled with, if you can see it, it's just got little meditations. And for me, my heart, it's the sort of thing that I needed. And it's of the sort, their phrase, like, I now release, and I now affirm. It's those sorts of statements. They end up being really helpful for me on these sorts of fronts. So our book that's going to go into this is our next book. So I can't even sell you on that yet, but come 2026, there'll be another great resource worth picking up.
Awesome.
Lauren, it's been a delight meeting you and getting a chance to talk to you. Thank you for your time, but I'm really thankful for what you've given us, me, people that listen. These can be incredibly helpful. So
thank you so much for your thoughtfulness, the way that you have asked the questions and kind of hung in there. And it's been a pleasure.
Perfect. We'll stay in touch. Let us know if we can do anything for you. And I'm cheering for you. And do say hey to Becca for us.
Thanks.